Okay, here's a weird one for you. What does a toxic relationship possibly have in common with a giant tech monopoly? I know, it sounds like a strange comparison, but today we're going to unpack the surprising and honestly pretty powerful connection between them.
Well, the answer reveals this invisible force that shapes just about everything, from our love lives to the entire global economy. It's a hidden psychological mechanism. Now, once you see it, I promise you'll start seeing it absolutely everywhere. So let's get into it.
We're going to start on familiar ground, something a lot of us can recognize, even if we haven't been through it ourselves. That confusing, almost magnetic pull of a really unstable relationship. It's such a frustrating puzzle, isn't it? You know it's not good for you. You see the crazy pattern of amazing times followed by awful times, and yet walking away feels next to impossible. So what is going on there? And wow, this quote from a Reddit user named Jen it hits the nail on the head. She calls it a craving, an addiction to that roller coaster. For her, that feeling of insecurity was actually familiar, almost a comfort zone because of her past. You know, psychologists actually have a name for this whole dynamic. It's called intermittent reinforcement. And the key word here is intermittent. It's the unpredictability of the reward, the good times, the affection, that creates this incredibly powerful psychological hook. It makes it so hard to quit. Think about it like this. A vending machine is predictable. You put money in, you get a snack out. Every time. If it stops working, you just walk away, right? But a slot machine? That's totally different. It only pays out once in a while, completely at random. And that's what keeps people pulling the lever, thinking, maybe this next one will be the jackpot. You get hooked on the possibility. So here's the real kicker. You're not actually addicted to the person. You're addicted to the cycle. The relationship itself becomes the drug. And trying to leave means going through this awful, painful withdrawal from that chaotic pattern of hope and disappointment. Okay, but what if this whole addictive pattern, what if it's not just some weird bug in certain relationships? What if it's actually a key to understanding this fundamental engine of human desire that drives us in ways we don't even realize? All right, this is where things get really interesting. We're bringing in the philosopher René Girard and, yep, the tech billionaire Peter Thiel. Their whole argument is that we've been thinking about desire completely backwards. We assume we want things for our own deep-seated reasons, but they say, nope, our desires are almost always copied from other people. And that brings us to the core concept, mimetic desire. Mimetic, it just means imitative, like a mimic. The idea is simple. We learn what to want by watching and copying others. The thing itself almost doesn't matter. It's the fact that someone else wants it that suddenly makes it irresistible to us. It's actually a super simple three-step process. Think about it. A kid sees another kid playing with a toy and bam, suddenly that is the only toy in the world they want. Or your friend starts raving about a new TV show and now you have to watch it. We are constantly using other people as models for what we should want. And boy, this quote from Henry Kissinger just nails the dark side of all this. See, when we all start wanting the same things, our models suddenly become our rivals. The game shifts. It's not about getting the thing anymore. It's just about beating the other person. And as Kissinger saw at Harvard, the more alike the rivals are, and the tinier the prize, the more vicious the fight gets. Okay, so let's zoom out. Because this exact same dynamic, this mimetic rivalry that happens on playgrounds and in university offices, is the very same engine that drives some of the biggest players in business and technology on the world stage. So when Peter Thiel drops this famous line, competition is for losers, it sounds kind of arrogant, right? But it's not just trash talk. It is a direct strategy based on Girard's theory. Thiel is basically saying that if you get sucked into a head-to-head competition, you've already lost because you've let your rival define the game for you. For Thiel, the only way to really win is to stop playing their game altogether. You have to go from 0 to 1. You have to create something so brand new, an entire new category, that you're the only one in it. The goal isn't to beat your rivals, it's to make them totally irrelevant by building a monopoly. And you don't have to look far to see how this plays out in the real world. I mean, look at this chart of social media market share. That huge blue chunk at the top, yeah, that's Facebook. And that tiny cluster of other lines way down below, that's everybody else. It is a classic winner-take-all market, built by a company that for years basically made competition a non-issue. So what happens when these monopolies get so huge that we start calling them gatekeepers, the ones who control our access to the digital world? Well, that's when society, usually through governments, starts to step in and try to rewrite the rules of the game. Take a look at this. It shows you exactly how the European Union is thinking about this stuff. On the left side, they've laid out all the specific problems, things like unfair practices or abusing a dominant position. And then on the right, you can see all the new rules and laws they're creating to fight back. And one of their biggest tools is something called the Digital Markets Act, or the DMA. It's basically a new rulebook designed to stop these giant gatekeeper platforms from using their power to muscle out any new competition. It's a direct shot at leveling the playing field that guys like Thiel tried so hard to escape. In this is where it all comes full circle. From massive global regulations all the way back down to our personal lives, the way out of these destructive games is surprisingly pretty much the same. You see, that addictive trap in a toxic relationship and that rivalry trap in business, they're really just two sides of the exact same coin. In both cases, you're playing a game defined by someone else. The only real way to win is to stop playing their game and to consciously, deliberately create your own set of rules. So what does that actually look like in your own life? Well, it looks like setting boundaries. It's about creating your own personal rulebook. These examples here show what that means. It's about deciding ahead of time what your non-negotiables are. It's deciding what game you are and are not willing to play before you even get on the field. And you can even see this idea on a much bigger societal scale with things like restorative justice. Instead of a competitive system focused on punishment and winning a court case, it chooses to play a totally different game, one focused on repairing harm and restoring connections. It's all about collaboration, not competition. So I guess the final question we want to leave you with is this. Mimetic Desire pushes us all to chase and compete for things just because other people want them. But what happens if you can step outside of that game? In your career, in your relationships, in your life? If you stop competing for what others have, what could you start creating for yourself?